welcome to my EdTech portfolio. My name is Marcia Smith and I'm a graduate student at Boise State University preparing for a degree in educational technology. This reflection video will cover a little bit about myself and my background, my artifacts and the coursework that I've completed in this program, how I have grown as an educator and a person over the last 5 years, and where I see myself in the future as an educator. Thank you in advance for your time and attention. When I first applied to this program in the spring of 2009, I was teaching math at a high school in Northern Virginia. I was looking for a program to teach me about technological resources that I could incorporate in my classroom. I was teaching at-risk students Algebra 1 Part 1, and I found that the more technology I integrated, the more engaged and willing to participate my students were. I didn't feel that my undergraduate degree did a great job of preparing me for this aspect of teaching, so I began to look for this program. When I found Boise State's program, I was very excited because the reviews were great and I wanted to learn all the resources that it advertised. I was very naive, though, to think that I would only take away the technological tools and resources. I didn't just take away that. I took away my knowledge of instructional design, graphic design, writing code, and doing project and program evaluations. During the late spring of 2009, my husband and I moved from Northern Virginia to Southern California. My husband is a captain in the Marine Corps, so he was restationed to Camp Pendleton. I was fortunate enough to find a job teaching high school math at a private Catholic high school in Orange County. While I was very excited for this opportunity, I was hired to teach AP Calculus and Pre-Calculus, which was drastically different than my previous job. I was very excited because this school was very supportive of technology. All the students were required to have their own laptops, and teachers were expected to incorporate technology into their lesson plans. This program was going to be a perfect fit for me to be able to incorporate and use my knowledge in the real world. I had a very stressful job teaching AP and also a stressful personal life because my husband deployed several times. Therefore, I only was able to take classes during the summer months during this time. It wasn't until the spring of 2012, when we moved back from Southern California to Washington, D.C., that I started taking classes during the fall and spring semesters. During this time, I was expecting our first child, and I knew I was going to be staying home to raise her. It's unfortunate that I haven't been in the classroom during the majority of my coursework because I've been at home working on this degree and raising our beautiful daughter. But I was able to share a lot of my projects and resources with previous colleagues, so they have been put into use, and I'm very excited to hopefully use them in the future. During this segment of my video, I'm going to reflect and discuss a few of the most meaningful and memorable artifacts and courses that I've taken. During my first semester in the program, I took EdTech 502. I didn't know what to expect, and I'll admit that I was very overwhelmed at the start of the course. I had no experience with writing web pages, and Adobe Dreamweaver was very intimidating and complicated. I remember that one of our first projects was to create the homepage for this course. I remember the list of projects at the time, and I didn't know how I was going to complete all of that work in just 10 weeks. Writing HTML and CSS code was definitely a challenge, but after the first few weeks, I started getting the hang of it. I started understanding the language, and I started really enjoying the process. This class was one of the most enjoyable classes because of the amount of knowledge that I gained in such a short time. It was fun, engaging, and a different type of class that got me excited for the rest of my program. As you can see, I really enjoyed playing around with the color schemes and styles. I tried to stick with the colors of pink, purple, and corals all throughout each of my pages. When I look back through my projects, I smile because I love how bright and vibrant all of the artifacts are. The concept map was a great project that I really enjoyed making. I used this project year after year in my classroom. Factoring is a topic that needs a lot of review for most students, even in the upper levels, so I would refer my students to this site and they could access the resources they needed. In fact, this concept map is something that I used even before this program, but the technology and learning how to use graphics definitely helped me share it with more students. Another project that I really enjoyed making was the virtual field trip. By this point in the semester, I felt more confident in my skills with writing code and style. I was able to incorporate some great graphics, even this one that had the hotspots in order to go to each new page, as well as resources for each of my students. This project was shown to my calculus students during my first year of teaching, and they really enjoyed being able to use the real-world applications. My experience with Dreamweaver really came in handy during EdTech 506. Graphic design for learners was such an enjoyable class. It had been a few semesters, though, since I'd taken EdTech 502, so it took a little bit of remembering before I became adept at the skills of this program. I love learning how and why visual literacy is so important in any type of learning material. I think this class was so impactful for me because I am a visual learner myself. I incorporate a lot of visuals such as charts or pictures to help my students remember concepts or interpret difficult math topics. I was able to design a unit of instruction for my students that included several of these graphics. This is my unit of instruction on the trigonometry fundamentals. This particular graphic had hotspots that linked to each lesson. Angle measurement, right triangle trigonometry functions, the unit circle, which was one of my very favorite topics, and the applications of trigonometry. For each of these graphics, I included principles such as contrast, alignment, repetition, proximity, typeface, color, space, organization, shape, selection, and a few more. One graphic that I'm particularly proud of is my SOHCAHTOA graphic. SOHCAHTOA is a mnemonic device to help students remember sine, cosine, and tangent functions. The mnemonic device is, some old horse caught another horse taking oats away. This graphic depicts that, and it really helps students commit to memory the mnemonic device. I was able to use the principles of contrast, depth, as well as colors and repetition in order to help them understand through the visuals. I wasn't teaching at the time, so I wasn't able to use this in my own class, but I did share this with a colleague at my previous school, and the students received it very well, and students kept telling her for years this is how they committed it to memory. As I said, this was one of my very favorite classes. It took away a lot of knowledge, and the justification paper and this website were one of my very favorite artifacts throughout my entire time in the semester. EdTech 521 was an elective class for me. I took this class because I wanted to learn more about online education. I was contemplating a career in teaching online, but I honestly didn't know much about it. I was very unfamiliar with all of the responsibilities and requirements of an online teacher. I learned more than I ever thought I would in this class. I had an exceptional professor, Teresa Dove. This was the first online class that I took in the program where I felt comfortable with my instructor and felt that I could go to her with any issues comfortably. I also sought her out several times for questions that didn't necessarily pertain to the weekly lessons. I thought that this was a great experience to have in the program, especially in a class aimed to show us how to be an online teacher. If I ever do decide to teach online, which hopefully I do, I will definitely model my behavior and lessons after hers. As I learned in this class, teaching online and teaching in a traditional setting can differ greatly. We utilized so many great techniques for teaching in an online setting. One assignment was to create an asynchronous lesson plan. We learned the difference between an asynchronous lesson plan and what constitutes for a good one, and what a synchronous lesson plan is and what constitutes for a good one. I'm going to show you this example, which is my asynchronous lesson plan. I taught related rates. It was a 2-week assignment. It started with an introduction as well as a vocae in order to give instructions for auditory learners. My week 1 lesson plan and presentation were presented using Adobe Connect, which is a great web conferencing tool that I did not know about until this class, and I really enjoyed learning about the tools available as far as the interactive whiteboard and polling capabilities within this tool. And then my week 2 lesson plan, which as well has all the resources that a student would need if they were taking this online. And finally, my discussion forum is this wonderful activity that would be perfect for an online setting in order to teach a real-world application. Essentially, this is what we would do in the class, except for it brings me to every student that would be accessing it. Some of my favorite courses in this program were also some of my hardest ones. EdTech 541 was one of the most time-consuming, demanding classes that I took in my time here. However, it was also probably one of the most beneficial and engaging classes that I took. This class was also an elective course that I am so grateful that I took. I love that the knowledge and resources that I have attained in this course can be applied and used in the classroom on a regular basis. Most of the online resources that I found are offered for free and are very accommodating for any level student. I worked extremely hard in this class to write practical, functional lesson plans and find useful resources. My only regret is that I'm not currently teaching, so I'm not able to use this material in a classroom yet. I have shared my final project with my colleagues, so hopefully the lesson plans can be used as intended. My final project for this class was developed over the course of the semester. My content area that I focused on was high school math. Most of the assignments that I created were specific to this discipline area. I am particularly fond of this interactive presentation on the Fibonacci sequence. I incorporated many graphics, videos, and even games and interactives for my students. Another assignment that I really enjoyed making and that I hope to use soon is my content area learning in the mobile device area. On this one, I searched for apps that pertain to trigonometry, and I came up with a lesson on how to incorporate them. I found 5 apps in total, most of which would be extremely useful for students and would definitely help engage them in the classroom. Another one that I found especially powerful is my networking presentation. This was at the beginning of our semester, and I did not know much about computer networking. I did not have much experience with the technical side of the internet or software, and I learned a ton about how networks and servers function. This project influenced my understanding and appreciation for technology extremely. Overall, this course was such a great learning opportunity. I put in a lot of time and effort, and I am very proud of my final project. I took away a vast amount of knowledge and skills that I will definitely be using in the future. I couldn't be more satisfied with my time in the program. It has been a long journey, but such a fulfilling, valuable experience. I have learned such a large amount of knowledge, and I feel I've grown tremendously since the start of my program. For one of my classes, I remember we listened to a TED Talk on technology, and one of the quotes stuck with me. It said, "Technology is not about the gadget. It is about how you think about using the gadget. Innovation happens between the ears." I love this quote, and I feel it sums up my experience perfectly. I came here to learn about the gadget, but what I really learned was how I think about using the technology in my classroom. Thank you, Boise State, and to all my EdTech professors for giving me this learning opportunity and this opportunity for growth.